Hello everybody out there and welcome to another edition of a late night screen review. This week we're talking about The Boy and the Heron. Haha, this ain't no Ponyo. So yeah, this time we're talking about The Boy and the Heron, directed by Hayao Miyazaki. Obviously a big, Miyazaki animation movie. And it's out in all major theatres on the 26th, which was yesterday. So we're a day behind in the UK. So what's the story? Morning Glory. So this film tells the story of Mahito, who's a young boy who has recently lost his mother in a fire. His dad then remarries, I think his mother's sister, and they all move out into the countryside in this large kind of manor house, where kind of hijinks ensue. Mahito kind of experiments with things like the loss of his mother, nightmares, dreams, reality, life, death. All these things get pushed around and questioned in kind of general, Miyazaki fashion. And this is apparently a semi-autobiographical film as well. So it's got a twofold there. So what did I think of this film? There you go, good boy. So obviously we were in a day late to our local Cineplex and went to watch the film. It was a packed house, pretty much full cinema screening, which was nice to see. Obviously massive Miyazaki fan, massive Studio Ghibli fan. I've always loved these animations ever since I saw Spirited Away, and even before that I had read Nausicaa, the manga. Before that, and kind of didn't know what it was when I was reading it, and I'm talking about when I was about 10 or 11 years old. And then saw, Spirited Away, and from then on in was just a huge Studio Ghibli / Miyazaki fan for the rest of my life, because they're incredible films. Now, this film is no exception. Do not be sat there panicking. Is this going to be any good? Is it not going to be any good? This film is another bona fide Studio Ghibli classic. It's an incredible movie. It's breathtakingly, stunningly kind of... The visuals are incredible. The kind of symbolism and the kind of set pieces and stuff are things that you've probably never seen in animation before. Yada yada yada. It's just a standard Miyazaki film, but that is no bad thing. Are there a couple of exceptions? Are there anything that I didn't like about it generally? Just as a kind of broad sweeping statement. I think that the kind of score wasn't that memorable. I think in other kind of Miyazaki movies, the scores are so incredible. I think this one was a little bit weak. Again, still beautiful, still great, still well orchestrated, etc., and composed, but just kind of not as memorable. Also, I think that the kind of the imagery and the symbolism and the kind of the subtext, the metaphors that are in Miyazaki films. There were quite a lot of these. This film's quite more cerebral than any of his other movies. So if you think of things like Ponyo or I don't know, like Princess Mononoke, obviously there's symbolism in there, there's metaphor, but this one takes it to a whole new level. So it's a lot more trippy. I think another thing to consider with this film is that it's quite a lot darker than previous Miyazaki movies. So when you're thinking like Ponyo or, I don't know, Spirited Away or whatever, this film's a lot darker. It's more in the vein of like a Princess Mononoke. It's more set in a kind of real world. It's kind of dealing with more kind of real world themes of loss, death, abuse, things like that, self-harm. There's all these kind of things that you'll see kind of suggestions or glimpses of in this movie. So you might need to consider that if you're thinking about taking younger people to go see this movie, kids, etc. So I was quite surprised by that. Yes, I'm a die-hard fan, but again, I think I didn't love everything in this movie. I think some of the kind of characters I don't think were as memorable or as like characters that you warm up to. There weren't as many in this movie. This film was kind of dealing more with the subjects and the thematics as opposed to the characters. There are a couple of really cool characters in this movie, but I think you just don't get that kind of ensemble cast that what you've had in other films. Like, you can think of multiple kind of characters from other Miyazaki films. Spirited Away, for example, you know, you've got the characters in like Princess Mononoke, you've got the characters in like Laputa, Castle in the Sky, etc., etc., and you can recall at least 2 or 3, 4 of those main characters to mind. Where in this movie, I think like the main character is really well rounded and really, you know, you really engage with him, and I think that's really good because he is the only character that you really kind of hold on to, in my opinion. He has a couple of sidekick characters that travel on this journey with him from kind of the world of the living to the world of the dead as he kind of crosses the boundary. And then he has like guides that show him the way. But they're not that memorable, I would say, personally. But having said that, like, again, it's an interesting story. Visually, it's stunning. It's beautifully animated. It's beautifully kind of voice acted. The score's beautiful again, if not that memorable. It's what's great about these films is that it takes its time to build the world around the character. There's many sequences in this movie where it's just quiet and you're just listening to the birds outside, or maybe, I don't know, like a kettle boiling in the room as somebody's slowly waking up or walking into a room, etc. And takes time. The characters take time to just look around the environments, and you get to look around in the environments. And again, all the environment design, the product design is stunning. It's stunning. There's not much more I want to say about this movie. I don't want to give too much away. I want everybody to go out there and watch it. This is another example of beautiful Japanese 2D animation. You're going to see things, especially if you're not a massive animation fan, you're going to see things in this movie that you've never seen before. The visuals are just going to be stunning generally, even if you have seen it in other movies. If you're a Miyazaki fan, Studio Ghibli fan, you're going to adore this movie. If you're a cinema goer, you will leave this film kind of rethinking the benefits and the kind of probably rethinking how you think about animation in general. It's that kind of a standalone movie. Much like the Godzilla film, I would recommend anybody go see this movie because it is just in a class of its own. And if I'm going to be honest, I'm going to point the finger again at Disney Plus. You guys could learn a lesson from Studio Ghibli and especially from Hayao Miyazaki, because you need to go to school again. I'm kind of only half kidding with that, but it's an incredible movie. It's a huge high recommend from me. Go out and see it now. You owe it to yourselves. Take your kids, take your partner, take your friends. Go and have a good time in a beautiful fantasy world that the Boy and the Heron is. I can't wait to go see it at the cinema again. And I can't wait to just kind of show this movie to friends. It's a high recommend for me. Yes, I know it's not a horror movie, but it's a Miyazaki movie. I had to do it. I just had to. So it's a high recommend for me. It's great. There's a couple of, like I say, a couple of little bits that are not as standout as previous films. But again, the kind of animation and the atmosphere and all that more than makes up for that. So it's a high recommend. But that's it for this late night screen review. There will be more horror movies coming soon, but there are a couple of other interesting kind of foreign film markets I'm looking at as well, so we're going to try and maybe expand the kind of review movies that we do on this show. But until next time, guys, if you can like, share and subscribe this video, that'd be excellent. And until then, stay safe and stay scared, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.